I am very happy to be here at this showcase of the work of CBR UK. This has to be one of the most important, if not the most important, social justice issues of our time. So we must speak out, we must turn this around, we must make abortion history, and CBR is part of this new, young, rising, energetic generation that is going to turn this issue around. They will not sleep, they will not rest until this is done, and I want to be part of it.
So without further ado, I'm going to invite the CEO and the founder of the CBR UK. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a massive round of applause to Andy Stevenson.
13 years ago, 2006, there were two life-changing events for me that really impacted me. The first one, my wife told me she was pregnant. I was over the moon. A few weeks later, we went for our first ultrasound scan. I knew I was going to be a father in a few months' time, but seeing my daughter on that screen, it just hit me. I was a dad now of a little tiny human being. Fast forward a few weeks, my mum handed me a leaflet, and inside that leaflet had a picture of a baby the same age who'd been killed in abortion. And I'd never seen anything like that. I felt angry, sick, I was horrified. Eventually I connected with a guy called Greg Cunningham in the United States who set up the Centre for Bioethical Reform. And I loved what they were doing. They were taking that image I saw and they were putting it, the size of a truck in the most public places you could possibly imagine, taking it above busy beaches, football stadiums. And I thought, this has got to work, because if my life has been interrupted by seeing this, then we need to show other people. The Centre for Bioethical Reform had done a very detailed study into the history of social reform, hence all this information around the room tonight. And what we found was that no social reform has ever ended an injustice by covering it up. They've had to expose it. And the history of social reform is the history of these kind of pictures that you see around you. Martin Luther King Jr. said, like a boil that can never be cured so long as it is covered up, but must be opened with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light, injustice must be exposed, with all the tension its exposure creates to the light of human conscience and the air of national opinion before it can be cured. When we informed the police of our intentions to take these banners out into the public square, they told us in no uncertain terms that it was likely that we'd be arrested if we did that. And we were arrested 3 times, and with the help of Greg Cunningham and Andrea Williams, the Christian Legal Centre, we went to court, the criminal court, and we won. It was a victory for free speech. These victories meant that we could take these pictures and can take these pictures anywhere in the UK and not fear spending the night in the cells. Now, when we hold up these pictures, people do get angry. We're not protesting abortion, but abortion protests itself by its very nature. You just have to look at it. But we're reframing the debate. Everybody wants to talk about choice. Well, we want to focus the issue on what it is that is being chosen.
Just one of the things that amazes me in this work is just the ginormous difference between what people think abortion is and what abortion actually is. And so one project we've been running in the last few months is just interviewing members of the public about abortion. What do you think about abortion?
each individual, it's up to them what they want to do.
I think everybody should be allowed the right. I'm not really for it or against it.
Everyone has their right to kind of do what they feel is right in their own life.
So what I want to show now is a short 1-minute video of what an abortion procedure looks like at various stages from 10 to 24 weeks.
That baby is too big to be doing that. Oh, allow it. No way.
God, sorry, I don't think I can do it. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't look at it.
Sorry.
So that's the video.
That was those babies were fully formed. It wasn't even like it was. They had hands.
I didn't know it was like that. That's a body. That's a full, not full grown, but it's fully developed.
That really shouldn't be right. That's technically, even though the baby may not be out, that's technically, I will relate that to murder.
I don't think they should be cutting up babies like that. No.
I'm a bit speechless, actually.
It is a person, and people don't realise that. A lot of people think, oh, it's just a bunch of cells and that. To a point, but you know, 3 months and on, you can really see the formation and everything. So, yeah.
And that's why one of the things we do is these public educational displays, because the public educational displays show people the reality of abortion. Because every time you show the image, people are challenged. Better still, people that weren't wanting to be challenged are challenged.
So, 12 years ago, in 2007, a handful of people held up a banner in Brighton to show people the reality of abortion. And today, we have 110 active volunteers around the country, and many more who want to get involved. All the time, we're hearing from people who want to get involved. It's exciting. Lots of work, but awesome. The Awakening Tour in 2017 and 18 saw us travel to 15 cities all across the country to give presentations and training, hold displays, and ask people to join forces with us. And this simple combined approach has proved to be incredibly effective. So currently, we have 5 active display teams, one in Eastbourne and Hastings, which I have the privilege of leading, one in Brighton, one in London, one in Cardiff, and one in Liverpool, plus a team in Manchester, which is currently looking for leaders. And we are only a few steps away from starting new teams in Brighton, York, Scotland, Cornwall, Bristol, and Southampton. Here, yeah, it's awesome.
If this is changing my heart and my mind and taking my support of this cause to the next level, this is surely going to achieve the same on the street. And that's what we did. We took it to the street. We had Susie and the team come to Cardiff, and they gave us the training, the focus, and the support we need. And from there, we've gained in strength, and now we're out every month for the past 18 months.
My daughter Sophia told me that the Awakening Tour was coming to Liverpool. Because I had a broken shoulder, I was off work, so I could go to the presentation which Aisling gave. I was just totally convinced of the method of using the graphic images. It just completely settled it in my heart that was the right thing to do. And because of the provision of people coming up to Liverpool to do a presentation and do the training and come out with us on the street, we quite quickly had a group of volunteers together.
So we started going out on the streets, and we were opposite my college across the road, and I would just stand there and pray that no one would ask me a question, because I didn't have any of the answers. We were passionate, we had the images, they did a lot of the talking for us, but I didn't have really, I'm sorry, Andy and Catherine, I didn't really have the training to be able to articulate the pro-life message. And so anyway, one day, Catherine Atwood pressurized me to travel to Florida to join the Genocide Awareness Project, a massive pro-life display. And they trained us in pro-life apologetics. And I couldn't believe how logical, reasonable, simple it was. Before I knew it, I was jetting off to Canada to do a 4-month internship with the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform. It's a sister organisation. We want to be able to raise up the most confident, effective, articulate pro-life ambassadors that this country has to offer. At the end of the Awakening tour, we had people all across the country who were now willing and ready to do something, but they didn't know quite what to do. So we designed an 8-week course where we'd get people to log in online, and we taught them about the pro-life apologetics, the strategy, media training, presentation training, whatever it was, and equip them to be able to advocate in their city. And as you can see now, we've got teams which are emerging across the country. Now we're getting more international interest in this training as well. Teams are wanting to start across the world. So you can see this is a global movement, and other countries impact this country, and we have impact on other countries.
When I was in high school, about 14, we had a pro-life group come and speak to us in an RS lesson. It was SPUC. And I think from essays I'd written at the time that I read, I was clearly pro-abortion, and I'd written about how abortion was important for women to have a right to choose, and it was their body, their choice. And they flicked to the next slide, and there on the screen was an image of a dead baby. Being shown abortion had changed me forever. And I went home and I told my mum that I wanted to do that job. I wanted to go and teach people about abortion. We lay out the facts about prenatal development and the facts about abortion, and then we show it. Include in a video and in images, and then we leave a long space to discuss abortion, have debate with the whole class so everybody's opinions can be heard and aired, and they can ask all the questions they want to ask. And we've seen people's minds changed. We've since developed a presentation for year groups 6 and 7 to really lay a foundation of respect for life and care for life, and looking at the human development so that we can show that every human being is amazing from fertilization to natural death. And I'm really excited to see these presentations reach more high schools and more youth groups in the year to come, because abortion really suits the generation of today. It allows them to live without consequence and without responsibility. But I want to see them change their lifestyles because of what we've shown them. And I want to see them fiercely pro-life and defending unborn children. And it's our job to sow the seeds.
Now, there's many places where we could talk about abortions. It's talked about in schools, it's talked about on social media. But I think the most important place that it should be talked about is also in churches. And it's not talked about enough in churches. And therefore, you have a whole generation of people who are growing up in the church, but their convictions about abortion is often influenced by other people who are talking about it. I think it's about time that the church started to actually jump into and change the narrative.
So the problem isn't actually that the church doesn't have voice and position. The problem is the church isn't using voice and position. I'm convinced that when churches teach about abortion, it not only changes the culture within the church, it begins to change society. And I think the battle of the church is really the battle of Britain in this war. These pastors have loved their people enough, and they've been fearless enough to engage their congregations on abortion. So we're really grateful for you guys. We want to honour what you're doing.
Before you came, we completely agreed with you. Abortion was wrong. But because we believed it was wrong, it wasn't really our concern. We were right, fine, no problems. But when you came and spoke, we suddenly realised, hang on a minute, we must speak out. It's not enough to believe it's wrong. We have a responsibility to speak out, and we can speak out, and we must speak out.
Do we show this on a Sunday in the place of worship? And so we had a long discussion about that. And I think in actually talking with you about things and having Dave come and share with us, you know, it was absolutely the right thing to do. And were people uncomfortable? Yes, they were. Were they moved? Yes, they were. And so they should be. So should we all be. This seems to be a movement whereby we truly want to stand as a church to protect the unborn.
Fantastic.
So it started as a response to the shock that so many people who have been involved in abortion feel when they see these pictures. And I wanted to be identified as someone who's available to support and to listen. So I held the board.
There's an impact on the father of the baby, on the mother, on the grandparents, on the siblings of the baby, and those who work in the abortion industry.
Most people who've told me their story have told me that they really didn't feel they had any choice. I've met with and heard the stories of probably hundreds of people since our baby was aborted 49 years ago this year. I've spoken of the way Christ has been our saviour, and I've written the recovery course, and I've been amazed at the response of those who've been on the course. The placing of my baby in Jesus' hands brought a peace that goes beyond my understanding. When I think about her, I feel peace where before I felt condemnation.
And often the web allows us to go places that we just wouldn't go by ourselves. It allows people to be confident to talk about things that they may not talk about when they're one-to-one with somebody. The total population was estimated at 7.6 billion, and that was up to last year, 2018. But internet users are already at 4 billion, and do we think that's going to grow? Absolutely. It's digital disruption. You know, on average, people look at their phones 2.5 hours a day. And that's what we need to use as an advantage in order to get our message out there. We can talk to a wide audience about all sorts of issues around abortion in effective ways that are complementary to what CBR are doing on the ground. We're currently working on a survey that allows for our teams, when they're out there, to engage with the public, and it will bring back data automatically and visualize that data. So it will reinforce the areas in the UK that we're working in and we're doing a good job in. And I think that's something that's really important, because in the sort of propaganda war of the news, they like to argue about statistics, and they like to pick and choose their statistics. And I believe we should create our own statistics of what the public is saying, because I think it's an important way to combat the wider message that's at the moment working against us.
An average display in the city centre will reach about 1,000. Now, when we take an image or a video of that and share that on social media, we reach thousands more. Whether social media, whether mainstream media is how we're going to impact more at a quicker pace. So I'm just going to quickly show you a little show reel I put together.
These images of aborted fetuses are too graphic for us to show.
Aborted fetuses to educate the public about abortion.
I'm 65 and we fought for the right for women to have control over their bodies.
We're not here to purposely offend women. Yes, some people may be offended by seeing this.
But these are deliberately offensive, surely, that's what you said.
It is disgusting. I don't like looking at these images, but
so you are
it's the
deliberately
reality.
offending?
But the thing is, we have to ask ourselves a question, why are these so offensive? They're not offensive because of the image, it's offensive because this is happening, because babies are getting slaughtered in the womb. It is totally offensive.
They're actually too graphic for us to be allowed to show on BBC One at this time of morning. Do you understand why that might upset some women who are going in for abortions?
Yeah, these images are extremely upsetting because they depict the reality of abortion, and the reality of abortion is extremely upsetting, and that's why we believe that women should...
Your hand-picked vision of what a reality of an abortion looks like.
No, these are straight-up photographs of the abortion procedure.
The group compares society's acceptance of abortion to historic attitudes towards the slave trade.
Hundreds of years with human beings being dehumanised, compared to animals, so other people could exploit them.
Of what abortion is
look at
and
what the NHS
pregnancy
website
is.
says. It says that it prevents implantation. Now, if your definition of human life is at the moment of implantation as opposed to fertilisation, that's your interpretation, but science tells us human life begins at that very moment of fertilisation. You just need time to develop into a more adult and mature version of yourself.
I totally believe that women should be able to decide what happens to their own body and to their lives. But what about these women's rights? What about the little babies in their wombs? I think our right to choose should stop when it infringes on another person's right to life.
For each social injustice that has been turned around, the media platform of the day has been utilised to help spread the word. And so I really believe that social media is the tool
for this injustice, and we are the only pro-life organisation in the UK that is spreading the graphic reality of abortion to saturate society with the truth, and that's what we're going to continue to do. And I challenge you all of those who's on some sort of social media, share the facts, share the humanity, and share the reality of abortion, and you will be part of this changing culture for the next generation.
As you've heard from my brilliant colleagues who work tirelessly to change the nation's thinking on abortion and change the culture in the way we think about abortion, the other side of what we do is saving lives with these images and with these displays. So I'm going to share with you a few stories. The mother of this baby was on the operating table. She said, "I've got to go speak to my partner quickly before you do this." Jumped off the table, ran back to the waiting room where he was looking at the sticker still and said, "The eyes of the baby are just looking at me, we can't do this." And she felt the same, so they left. And this is their daughter that was born because of that. This is her a few years later, and this is her recently. A beautiful life saved because their parents saw the truth about abortion. The mother of this baby, we met outside a Brighton clinic. She saw one of our images, and she had only just had a newborn baby and was pregnant again. And this little baby was born 9 months after the sibling. So we don't always know about the lives that are being saved. If we reach over 1,000 people with every public education project, how many lives are being saved without us knowing about it?
When I was pregnant with a miracle pregnancy, I was having a high blood pressure. So me and my husband planned to terminate the baby. So I went to the clinic, we booked an appointment. So when I get there, they check on me to terminate the baby. That very day was the last day. And they found out that my high blood pressure was high. So they sent me home. They said I should go home. So I was really crying. So when I was going out of the clinic, I saw some group of people. That is one of the lady name is Polly. I said I went for an abortion. So they now show me some leaflet and take me to just nearby cafe. They bought me coffee, and she was telling me about the pregnancy and said, "Look, this is how your baby is going to look like." I was like shocked. I said, "You think the baby is already?" I said, "No, it's just blood there." They said, "No, it's half hand already, this little hand, these are the face." I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God. So after everything, they drive me home. So when my husband came back, I talked to my husband about it, that, "Oh, do you know what? I decided now I'm going to keep the baby." By calling them, saying that, they keep on like helping me with like prayer, coming to me, sometimes come over to see me and my children. Then after everything, I thank God the baby was okay and I was okay. And since then, everything is going on well for me and my family and my baby. And the name of the baby, I gave her Miracle.
We've only been able to get this far because of the generosity of our financial donors. And actually, I want to thank everyone here who has supported us in the past and who is still supporting us. Thank you very, very much. But we need to now take this to the next level. We need to raise approximately £6,000 per month extra on top of what we currently have coming in, just to maintain the status quo, just to keep going. I want to put it a little bit into perspective here. Over £100 million is being put into the abortion industry in the UK every year, okay? To turn this tide, we need people who are as serious about financing the end to abortion as the other side are in financing the advancement of it. In the words of Greg Cunningham, unless you have as many people working to save babies as there are working to kill them, little is going to change. Without the CBR UK team being released to go out and do this work, we couldn't be reaching these people.
This is the team right here who's on the forefront, changing the way the nation thinks. All right, continue to support them, continue to engage with them, give your time, give your energy, give your finances, give whatever you can. But I love what they said, make it sacrificial. The evil people prevail when the righteous do nothing. What can you do? As small as it is or as much as it is, what can you do before you walk out of here today? Before you walk out of here and you go back into the big wide world where you're challenged, What can you do? Start to educate yourself. Help cover the cost of educating somebody else. What can you do? Because the evil people will continue to prevail if the righteous people do nothing.